Welcome, everybody. This is Leah Richeimer for the Ladies Talk Show. We have an amazing show today, especially because some people are more than others going to have steam coming out of their ears. Anger is a very, very annoying thing because it happens that when you least expect it and when you don't want it to happen and you're having a lovely day and then something happens and you're just like, argh. Today we have Rabbi Joey Haber, who is going to teach us exactly how to work out of that terrible mind game that we play with ourselves where we're trying to control ourselves, but we just can't. So welcome to the show, Rabbi Haber. We are so lucky to have you. And I'm a huge fan. I've been listening to you for years. I'm just so thrilled to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. And it's a really honor to be from the East Coast to the West Coast. And I'm really honored and ready to go.
Okay, good. So we go very fast, very deep. So I hope you got your seatbelt on. Okay. Okay. So the first question I want to ask, okay. I guess I'm going to start with something like very straightforward. Why is so many people frustrated in their marriage today? I mean, that's like what I get 24/7. Even like, oh, you do shell and bias. Oh, like, why are so many people frustrated? What is it about the current climate or the current world that has everybody so frustrated in their marriages? Or has it always been that way?
Okay, I don't know if it's always been that way. I haven't been around that long, but I definitely believe that it's much more now. And I think the reason is, in fact, there's a classic story that in the time of the Talmud, there was, if a person got engaged, they would ask him, is your wife a matzah or a motzah, which means find or found? And they're like, wow, what is that question? What kind of question is that? And it says one refers to a pasuk or a verse that says, I found a wife, I found good. And the other one refers to a verse that says, I find a wife. Are you ready for this? Can you handle this? Can women handle this?
I don't know. What is it?
You're ready.
I'm ready.
I find a wife. There's an actual verse. Don't blame me. Don't go with the message. I find a wife is worse than death. So they would ask him this question.
I find a wife who's worse than death?
Yes, I just said it right. Motzani taisha mami taisha.
What are we doing with this?
By the way, Leah, that's many husbands will say that. By the way,
but here's the question: the man just got engaged, and we're asking him, "Did you find a wife that's good, or did you find one that's worse than death?" What kind of question is that to ask someone? I mean, give him a couple of years. Right now, he just got engaged. You're asking that question?
Oh my gosh! So
I once heard an incredible answer. And it explains the whole thing. You ever hear the expression, he's like a kid in a candy store?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. What does it mean? It means you're so happy you're like a kid in a candy store. Whoever made up that expression obviously never took a kid to a candy store. Because there's no place on earth that a kid is more miserable than in a candy store. Because you know why? You've ever taken a kid to a candy store? You'll know why.
They want this. They want that. They want yeah.
You come into the store and you say you could pick one candy. And they see one that's sour and one that's a lolly and a billiard lolly and chocolate. And they don't know, and they keep grabbing one, and you tell them one candy, and then you get them out of the store. Once they're out of the store, they're happy. But as long as they're in the store, they're miserable.
Wow.
Here's the question we're asking the man. We're not asking about the girl. We're asking about him. For you, is this girl that you found, is it found and done? Or the word motza means, are you still finding? Which means you're still in the search, you're still comparing. If you're still searching, I can promise you, you'll be miserable. Because tomorrow someone will be taller, someone else will be shorter, someone will be prettier, someone will be thinner, someone will be a better cook, someone will laugh at your jokes better, someone will raise kids better. So
how does this apply to a woman? Because this is like saying the man should have his
great, same idea. That I think what happens is with social media and Instagram and everything that's happening out there, we have so much to compare to. And our spouse never lives up. Because you look around and you're like, this one's making more money. This one cares about the kids more. This one is into my mother more. And it never lives up to one. As long as you're in the comparing game, I can guarantee you're frustrated. So you get married and you're sitting at a holiday meal and your brother-in-law is acting one way, another one's acting another way, and your husband gets off the meal and sits on the couch. That's when the steaming comes.
Steam. We need a little emoji of steam coming in. But okay, I hear this. I cannot for the life of me figure a way out of what you're saying besides shutting down all the comparative, social media and seeing everybody else's vacations. Which I'm not advocating because it means everyone shuts the Ladies Talk Show off. Get off. So I don't, and that's not happening anytime soon. Anyhow, but what is the solution, Rabbi, for like, how do we mentally bolster ourselves to not compare and not to feel like we have less than everybody else?
Well, the first thing you need to do is recognize that as long as you're in the comparing game, you're going to be miserable. Just settle on that. As long as you're in that candy store, you're going to be as frustrated as can be. Again, like I said, if you ever took a kid into that candy store, as long as you look around, you're going to for sure be frustrated.
So true.
To me, the only way is if you really genuinely accept what you chose, why you chose her. I mean, and why you chose him. One of the things I do is I marry off a lot of couples. And in our community, we make speeches at the wedding, at the actual ceremony. So I'll meet with the couple and ask the boy and girl, what do you see in each other? And often their answers are very shallow. He likes me, puts me first. That's not going to, you need to know why you chose one another. And you need to always know why you chose one another. And if you don't know why you chose, why are you re-choosing? So right now, stop. Why did you choose this man?
You guys, ladies, this is you. This is what you need to be doing right now. Get your notebooks out. Start making notes in your phone, whatever. Also, start typing in questions for Rabbi because he's here. This is live, and you can ask your questions right now. I see Sarit's already flagging me down for a couple of questions. I'm just trying to keep this thing, from being frantic. But here's the thing. While he's telling this, get yourself a piece of paper or a notebook or something like that and write down exactly what Rabbi's saying. This is brilliant. Go ahead.
I appreciate, and why. You need to know why. Now, the problem is you may say I'm 10 years in and I kind of don't know why. So why are you staying in right now? Why is maybe it's because I have children with him and I don't want to disrupt the family. You need to know why. And that why has to be reminded in your head. It may not be that your spouse is perfect, but this is why I'm in it. Maybe I'm in it because I can't find anybody else. But at the end of the day, why am I here? And if I have my reasons why, and I constantly remind myself why, so I'm here because we have a great love, even though he doesn't support so well, but we love each other well, or we're raising great kids together, or we appreciate one another, or he does support well, even though he doesn't take care of me so well, but I enjoy how much. You need to know why, whether it's real reasons, shallow reasons. If you know why, then you feel confident when you see other things happening.
So for people who are doing this, I know a lot of people saying, yeah, I don't have a reason why. So bye, God forbid. Okay, that's not what we're saying. God forbid. But what you have to understand is whatever nisayon, whatever test that you're facing in your marriage right now, you're blaming your husband because he didn't do this and he made these bad choices and, and his mother is that way and blah, blah, blah. You have all this stuff in your head worked out. What you have to understand is there is nothing that happens on the planet Earth that God didn't put his stamp of approval and say, this is what I want to happen for my child. That's you. That's us. Okay. For my child's growth. So whatever challenges you're going through, if you look at it, not necessarily from your husband, but you look at it from God, what is God trying to teach me? It'll take a lot of the anger for not feeling like, why am I staying married to him? And now you have to, like Rabbi's saying, conjure up reasons why. If that means you have to take a notebook and fill in all the reasons why, maybe you can do 10 pages on why not to, what you don't appreciate your husband. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about just fill a notebook full of all the things you're appreciating, and then maybe circle one or two of them that are really, really deep in your heart, important to you.
Now, some of the whys could be that it's a challenge and it's making me a better person through the challenge. And the fact that I'm working through this challenge together is how I'm growing from this. Yeah. Yes, I mean, you have to see Hashem everywhere. Otherwise, if you're not seeing God in everything, yes, you're going to be unbelievably frustrated. And then the other thing, which is classic and everybody knows, is that no one's life looks as good as it is. I can promise you. Mm-hmm. One of the coolest things is I grew up as a kid and looking up to people, and I thought, oh, wow, this person, that person. And being a rabbi in my community, I got close to a lot of people, and especially many people that are very well off, very, very well off. And once you get to know them, you're like, oh, wow. So he struggles with that. Oh, his marriage isn't as good. Oh, he struggles with this kid. I never knew that. So you need to realize that once you get up close with people, almost nobody's life is really what it looks like.
Right. Okay, we're going to break this.
But yeah, no, I'm actually Rabbi Haber, but in the that initial thing that Rabbi Haber said regarding under the chuppah and asking a couple why they want to be with each other, what would be a good reason then? Because I mean, saying that you want to be with each other because you love each other, you think you have things that are, you know, like you communicate. I mean, what would be reasons that would make a couple? I'm actually curious for myself. Like, what would be a reason that I want to be?
So here's the problem. I don't want to, I'm afraid to address this because I don't want to make people have to rewind and say I never had a good reason to begin with. So I don't know if I'm going down the right direction.
That's so funny. That's what I was thinking. Like, what would be the reason that you
So,
would say, oh, okay,
I think you need to, I mean, it is a deeper answer, but I think, and it's hard sometimes for a young girl to do this, but you have to have a little idea of where you're trying to go in life and how this is the right partner for you to get there. So when you understand who you are and who you're trying to be, and you say, this is someone who has mutual goals and has mutual understanding of life and a mutual approach, then to me, that's what makes it, you know, that's what makes it something that I want to go live together with this person for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and also it's very different. I mean, most of the people who are watching the show, you know, we have a lot of singles who I think it's like 10%, maybe. I don't know. Would they try?
Maybe more these days. These days, our singles numbers have gone up.
Oh yeah, I think
a lot of singles.
So 1 second. If I'm talking to a single, I want to say this. I want you to don't be crazy picky, but have an idea of what you want out of your life, and then look for a person that fits that. Now, don't be every detail. It's impossible. But if you have some concepts of where you're trying to go, and now, wow, this person matches that in a beautiful way. Now I have a why.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, but in terms of for the people right now who are already married for a while, now it's kind of just you have it in your head. You have in your head and in your heart why you're with them or whatever. It's buried behind layers and layers of anger and upset and resentments. And then he said this comment in front of that one, and he embarrassed me in public. You know, all this stuff buries it. You know, just dig a little bit deeper, and you will find 5 solid, heartfelt reasons why it's good to be married to this man. Okay, let's take some.
Yeah, good. Yeah, there's another one. And by the way, Leah, our social media.
Wait, give me 1 second. Hold on, Rabbi.
I think when you re-choose, if you have the ability to sort of re-choose your spouse, it energizes the marriage in such a wonderful way. Because once you feel confident, this is the reason why, even though it's only because I'm in it already and because I have these children together, now you feel strong. Let's keep going.
Yeah, it's
amazing. Amazing. But Leah, by the way, just good for us to know also, our social media director said right now our numbers are at 30% divorced, seperared, or single.
Wow.
So we have a whole new groupies.
Wow.
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem. Wow.
Okay, we have plenty to say to them too. Okay, go. Get the next question. Go.
Okay, so the next question is how do we shut off social media from affecting us? Trying so hard, but I find that even with my kids, I'm comparing them to other people, forget my spouse. I think I'm having a hard time balancing work, kids, and relationship.
Wait, that was 2 questions.
Well, that was kind of in one, but that's 2. How do I deal with the social media? But I'm finding I'm having a hard time balancing it.
Okay, good.
Okay, balancing, you'll talk in a minute. Social media is the craziest thing in the world because all of a sudden one day it was there. Like nobody warned us. No one prepped us. No one said, by the way, the world's about to change. It's 2010. Get ready, 2011. Your world's going to be rocked upside down. So to be honest, the entire globe is struggling with the power of social media. The riots, the different countries that have been turned upside down, the economies have been affected. I mean, social media affected the pandemic we were just in it was the most confusing disease in the history of mankind because of social media. So, and my personal opinion is that your involvement in social media, if you want to live a healthy life, needs to be limited. Like you can't be sitting on there all the time, scrolling pictures on Instagram. You're just going to make you lose your mind. And then you just need to realize that I can promise you every single picture on social media is a lie. Every single picture is a lie. How many times have you been with friends and you're outside and it's a rainy day and then all of a sudden the sun comes out and you're 7 friends and 3 other friends walk in and go, okay, let's snap a picture. That's a fake. The other 3 just left. The other 3 just came. It was raining a minute ago. In 5 minutes from now, you all dispersed, but it looks like you had the time of your life. So social media in general is a lie. Even when it's the truth, it's really not giving you an accurate description. Just like, by the way, like candies in the candy store, because you ever try eating those candies? Before you know it, one makes you nauseous, one's too sticky, one's too sour. It's not so much fun. That's the best thing. And you have to limit it. If you're not limiting your social media, you're dead.
Well, so limited means to if you're doing 4 hours now, you need to do 2, or if you're doing 2 hours, you need to do one, whatever it is. They have these new things these apps that monitor what you're doing, and you're saying take it seriously. Otherwise, your ability to
Yes,
be
and then
accepting
what
of your
you're
family.
choosing, you need to look at the things that when you're done, do you feel good about yourself? If you sat in your bed for 2 hours a night and feel down, then that didn't work. Don't do it again tomorrow night. Don't do it again tomorrow night.
You mean, in other words, if your self-esteem is dropped and your ability to enjoy your life and appreciate what's going on in your life has gone down from your social media engagement, that's a clear sign that
Exactly.
that's not
Like
the way you wanna go.
Hashem gave us clues. God gave us clues. You know what the clues are? What's working and what's not. So if you sat on the couch for an hour and social media and felt uplifted by that hour, then maybe do it again. But if you felt like waste by the time the hour was done, like what I just do in my time, then don't do it again.
Right.
That's my answer.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
What was the end of her question?
Yeah.
We didn't get to
No,
tail
the
end
one
of hers.
is I'm feeling I have a hard time balancing work, kids, and my relationship with my husband.
Okay, so my answer to this is simply this. Stop feeling guilty. That means you're allowed to work, you're allowed to spend time with your kids, and you're allowed to spend time with your husband. Don't feel guilty when you're doing so. And also, you're allowed to spend time with yourself. You're allowed. What happens to a lot of moms is they're like, I feel bad going with my husband somewhere because my kids, I'm leaving them home and they miss me. And I don't care. If you know what you need to identify, what you and your marriage needs, and once you identify that, you need to do it. So if you need every Sunday night for 4 hours, do it. Because when you have a strong marriage, you're a better parent, you're better at everything else in your life. And when you have a weak marriage, you're weaker at everything else in your life. So stop feeling guilty.
That's
And if
awesome.
you need time alone, don't feel guilty.
Right. And also, we have from Rav Elchanan Wasserman, where he talked about how 90% of chinuch of children is shalom bayis, is taking care of your family. So what that means is that whenever you're having that question in your mind, should I take care of my husband who needs me right now, or my kid who needs me? Well, they need me. They can't help themselves. And what? They'll get a piece of bread and they'll put some peanut butter on it. They'll be fine. If you put your husband first, everything else in your life will be extraordinary. This is not Leah Richeimer's great idea. This is Chazal telling us it's a 3,000-year-old bulletproof track record of success for us to be able to have the pleasure and happiness and joy in our lives. It's guaranteed. So
100%. By the way, that number keeps going up. I heard it as 50%, but I'll go with 90%.
Oh, with Rabbi Wasserman?
That's how I heard it, but I don't know. But
I don't know. I got it in here, 90% and 20%.
Okay, so you must have
read that, and nobody said maybe they. Okay, whatever.
But we fully agree.
I'm going with your 90% also.
Go with it. But what I fully agree is that when you feel good and you're a happy mom, then then it's so much easier to have happy children.
Yeah.
Game over.
Don't
Don't feel guilty.
Awesome. Okay, good.
Okay, so we have from Hadassah on Facebook who asks,
I'm
married for close to 30 years and have a beautiful marriage, Baruch Hashem. I admire my husband. We're married right now to no end, but I feel that our relationship is suffering due to the stresses of raising a teen. I haven't been the best wife lately. Any advice? And I could tell her raising teens is like little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems. It's a whole new world.
Yeah.
So I would first say, similar to what we just said, that don't overwhelm yourself with first of all, a teen is a teen. And the nature of teens, they go up and down. When I started getting involved in a high school, I called a rabbi, a friend of mine. I said, tell me what you can tell me about high school boys. And he said, here's what I can tell you. Roller coaster. A roller coaster is up, down, up, down. That's what they are spiritually. One day you think the kid is rolling. He's flying high. The next day he drops. Roller coaster is the only way to identify it. So you need to recognize that in your teen. And then, like I said, you can't feel guilty. So you have to have certain times that are maybe safe zones. Maybe Friday night, you don't ever talk about your son, about the stress that he's creating. I don't know if he's going off the path or not, but if it's something that's really stressful, that's challenging, you say when we go out together on a Sunday night or Thursday night, we don't talk about those things. We only talk about positive things. You have to cut the constant flow of that stress in your brain. You have to cut it by giving yourself a free time where we don't discuss those things at this time.
Can I ask, Rabbi, because you'll take a perfectly normal person who's like very happy in their life, they're nice to their mother, they're nice to their friends, sometimes they get irritated with the kids, but then their husband does something and there's a level of anger that is reserved only for their husband. It's like, and then the rage comes out. Can you tell us why that is and what to do about it?
Because I think everybody else in the world, you can somewhat distance yourself from. I'm not in the mood for my friend. Your husband represents you. Whether we like it or not, our identity is very much wrapped with our spouse. And we're very much connected in our identity. So now when he does something, it's my deep inner being. And because of that, I think it frustrates me so much. I mean, there's so much more we could say on this, but that's my first initial answer is that he represents me. And when he does something that bothers me, it's something I can never free myself from in my head. And that's angrifies me in a completely different level.
So what do we do about that?
So, I mean, I have 2 points. Point number one is you need to accept the fact that your spouse is going to be different than you. I went into a class. It was science classes, and they wanted me to talk about adapting, whatever, evolution, real or not real, whatever, which is not for now. I went into 6 different classes, a total of 100 students. And I said, raise your hand if you want to get married, and everyone raised their hand. And I said, now raise your hand if your mother and father are different. And in every class, every kid raised their hand. That means somehow we all look for a spouse that's like us, and God in his infinite wisdom always makes us pick someone who's opposite. So that's all over the place. And you need to realize that being opposite is just how it goes. I mean, my wife and I have the same thing. I got married. I plan out everything. She doesn't want to plan out anything. I like to go away. She doesn't like to go away. I'm totally practical. She's totally spiritual. And I could keep going on and on. I'm the neatest guy you ever saw. You see every book is lined up. She's all fine. Let them enjoy the house. So now all of a sudden you find that you're different. Like you're really different. And now this becomes something very scary. Can I tell you what to do?
That's what I'm waiting for. Drum roll.
Okay. So there's a famous Talmud, a famous Gemara that says that if a man and woman merit, God is with them, because there's a yud in the man and a hey in the woman, and that's God's presence.
Those are Hebrew letters, yeah. Okay.
Those are Hebrew letters. The yud and a hey are Hebrew letters, and they spell God's name. But if they don't merit, then God leaves, and you have a fire, because the Hebrew word for man is ish, and if you remove the yud, which is from God's name, you have Esh, which is fire, and woman is also Isha. And if you remove the Hey, which is God's name, you have Esh, which is also fire. So you got it? God's presence, when he's there. If God's not there, you have fire. So the Chafetz Chaim has a great observation. You notice that the letters that bring God's name are the letters that are different in the man and the woman. The letters that bring destruction are the letters that are the same in the man and the woman. Which means if you and your spouse were the same, you would not accomplish anything. The whole beauty is because there's 2 different colors, so to speak. You have a background in that room there where there's purple and white. Imagine if it was all white. It wouldn't be anything unique. It's the purple and white that makes something special. It's the fact that they're different. In my home, the fact that I want to plan things out and then my wife wants to go through somewhat carefree. When we find a way to be somewhat in the middle, we bring God to our home, because then you have a home where the kids, they're raised with some level of planning, but some free willy, and it's unbelievable. And when you start to adapt to each and appreciate, I was gifted with someone who's different than me. That traction is what's going to create something gorgeous. So if you're frustrated, oh, I can't believe he's different. No. When I first got married, I would go to sleep at 1 o'clock in the morning. My wife wanted to go to sleep at 9. How does that work? She wants to wake up at 6. I want to wake up at 8:30. But then all of a sudden we're having children, and I'm taking care of the kids at night so she could get her sleep. And then I don't want to wake up early to take care of them, but she wakes up early and takes care of them. All of a sudden these differences start to work.
Wow.
And I was as cheap as can be when I got married, and my wife was as generous as can be. So basically over time, we adapted. I became generous and she's still the same. But that all of a sudden now I'm a much more generous person and a much more giving person. I'm glad that I had someone who's different than me to snap me out of this.
Wow, it's
So
the things are it's blowing up on social media. Okay, so wait, I'm sorry. You wanted to embrace what?
I want you to, when you're different than your spouse, I want you to embrace it. I want you to be excited about it because you're going to create something so much more beautiful because of it. That's my point.
Geschmack. Okay, go ahead, Siri.
Yes. So someone is actually asking if that was the case that that the rabbi was harder with money. That's a big one. Money's a big one for it seems like for a lot of people. How did you figure that out? How do you work that out?
Okay, so that's a great question. The truth is, if you hopefully have a little more financial flexibility, it helps. But if you don't, and your life is tight as a drum, that becomes very hard. So I would say this: if your communication is good, then you have to have real communication and real understanding of how we're going to have a system that's going to work financially. But if you ask me, what's really the struggle when it comes to financially is not just the money. It's the fact that I feel like my spouse doesn't understand me. That means that I feel like my wife's spending money that I don't have. Does she understand how hard I'm working? Does she understand that I worked 12 hours in a day just to make that $1,000 that she just blew on 2 dresses? Does she understand? So it's not just the fact that, okay, now I have to figure it out financially. It's that, does she get me? And then she feels like, does he understand me? I have friends. I'm trying my best to deal with a husband that's earning half of what my friends are earning and my friends' husbands are earning. And I'm trying to be the best I can. One of the things I need is a little bit of clothing that gets me through. Does he understand me? So what's really happening is not just the money. What's really happening is that both sides don't feel understood. So you need to spend time understanding each other. You know, when people say marriage is work, people think it's work, it's compromising and it's sacrificing and it's giving. Those are all, and respect, those are all the cliche stuff, and it's all true, but it's deeper. What I want more than anything else from my spouse is I want validation. And validation means, do you understand me? Do you understand when I'm insecure? Do you understand when I made a mistake I just made a mistake? I'm human. Do you understand me when I'm happy? Do you understand me when I'm upset? Do you get me? You're the only person in the world that I fully invested in. I chose you. I didn't choose my parents. I didn't choose my siblings. And to be honest, I didn't even choose my children, but I chose you. Do you understand me? Do you get me? Do you feel me? Do you understand as I'm going up and down in my life? Because my life's also a roller coaster. Are you with me in it? If you're with me and we're really together, you understand me. And it's so hard to do because, like I said, all of a sudden, you find yourself being so different than your spouse. And also life starts to happen. So you're going up and down, you're making more money, less money, different stresses. And does she get me? And does he understand me? Does he really understand me? Don't advise me, don't doctor me, don't change me, don't fix me. Just get me. So the biggest stress in the finances is I need to be understood. And if I'm understood and she feels, if we both feel understood, then we can figure it out.
Wow.
Yeah, by the way, can Rabbi go back and just repeat I'm getting from Tiny Time live stream. GL is asking that quote Rabbi said from the Chavetz Chaim. I hope someone wrote it down. I need to save it forever. So can Rabbi just give that again so we can make sure we capture that?
The idea is this: the letters that represent God's name in the man and the woman are the letters that's different in the man from the woman. The letters that represent fire and destruction are the letters that are the same in the man. Aish, Aleph, Shin in the man, which are Hebrew letters, and Aleph, Shin in the woman. When they're the same, you don't have anything in that home. There's nothing beautiful about that home where everybody's the same. The beauty of a home is when it's different. And the traction or the friction, and I don't mean friction in a bad way, I mean the back and forth is what creates something fantastic. That's how you create energy. That's how you create excitement. That's how you create enthusiasm. That's how it's fun. So embrace being different.
So the thing also that Rabbi said that is just blow me away, and I hope you wrote this down in big capital letters. Okay, well, this whole thing is after the show will post, and then underneath will be all of the notes. So don't worry, we're taking care of you guys. But does he get me? Does she get me? Does he? But for women, does he get me? That is so gorgeous, beyond gorgeous. And what we have to think about there is like, where am I holding in that? Like, do I have my husband have that feeling that I get him? Or am I just telling him what he should do today and what he didn't do and how he should have done this and could have and how he should be and how he should be? And he did that mistake again. And he hurt my feelings because he did this and this without thinking, which again, he should be working on all those things. Okay, I get it. But do I get him? Do I get him? That is the aliyah that's the raising up of our being a better wife, being the best
You
wife.
can't be more right, because in the end of the day, to just say you don't get me, you don't get me, you don't get me, doesn't get you anywhere. Start understanding him. Spend time understanding him. He's frustrated. Let's say he comes in yelling and upset. Look, you're smarter than that. You know why he's upset. Don't get all insulted and cower into your room. Stand up and say, what's really bothering him? What happened today? How was your day? Honey, what happened? Talk to me. I want to hear you. Don't advise him. Don't get frustrated. And then once he feels understood, he's going to want to understand you. The greatest way to be understood is to first understand.
So, and it's hard. It's a challenge. That's stepping, to like getting over your own emotions, and it's like a level of mastery. Look, you don't have to be there. Like we don't, all of us are working on this. I'm not like, oh, I know, and I'm going to tell you. No, I'm working on this just every bit as much, because there are times when I just have no patience left. So here, if so much is happening and everything's falling and whatever, and that's like, oh, come on, he'll understand. No, but we all have a level where we're holding and what we've grown to. And I have to say, I pat myself on the back. I've grown a lot, but there's a gap on how awesome we can be from where we are to where we can be. So we're not saying, okay, be this person. We're saying, just grow a little bit more, like Rabbi's saying, if you spend time to find out and understand what is going on with your husband. I'll tell you one thing. If today you just tried it one time, today or tomorrow, whatever, in the next like 24 hours, you tried one time to, whatever emotions you're feeling, whatever you want to explode with, whatever, just like get the duct tape. Sorry, Rabbi, we have duct tape in the show. Okay. Get the duct tape or whatever, and don't say anything, and just say, what's the word you said? What are you really feeling? What's going on with you? What happened today? And do that one time. Your husband will feel closer to you than maybe he has all year, and you will feel closer to him.
It's an incredible thing, what the results that happen. And here's why it's difficult, because although there's like an account, and we can get to that in a minute, I would say there's almost like a bank account, which I'll get to in a minute. The reality is, understanding yesterday doesn't always help for today. You need to re-understand me today. And our lives has become so fast-paced and so volatile that literally we can have mood swings, I would say from week to week, but I'm going to say from day to day, I would say from hour to hour. So literally, if you understood me last night, I went through 3 worlds today. You need to understand me again tonight. So that's why it's difficult, because to be up for it again and again and again and again is hard. It's hard. And you can't say, oh, we were good the first 5 years. No, you have to keep understanding, because as it keeps evolving, as it keeps changing. And that's what I told these students. I said, why do you think God put adapting into the creation? Why is a lizard able to adapt, and an iguana and Galapagos able to adapt? Because God put that in us, the ability to adapt. When you get married, you're going to be different than your spouse, and you're going to adapt to it. That's what you're going to do. Embrace the fact that we're different.
How do you get this the strength, the koyach to understand, like you said, okay, last night I spent 45 minutes. I didn't get the dishes done. I didn't get the emails returned. I didn't get all that stuff because I was being a good wife, and trying to understand him. Now I understand him. And now he seems like he's in a completely different place. So maybe it's not 24 hours, but it's on the weekend, he comes, and he's in a different place. How does a person, again, there's this, that with him, what's in it for me? You know, like what is going to keep a woman motivated to do that? But okay, the closeness, I can hear that. But what, you know, before, let's say the husband is emotionally distant or whatever, and she's working on this and working on this. And sometimes she can listen to him and be there for him and understanding for a month before she ever sees a breakthrough of him listening to her more or being closer to her. How does a woman develop that level of stamina?
So it is hard. And I would hope, and it doesn't always happen because it depends what the man's going through. I would hope that she starts to see some reciprocation, some response, some change. And usually she will see some. Now, it could be the husband's going through something particularly difficult. Like, I mean, if a man's in some kind of financial mess, he may not have the energy to appreciate it. Mm-hmm. And she may be understanding. So now she might, for that, if it's ongoing, they might need therapy. But if it's not ongoing, it's just he's going through a really tough patch of his life and she's working on it and she's not getting anything back, then she may need to lean on someone else to get that. As meaning a sister, a mother, you know, something that she sees, something that she reads, something that she enjoys. Mm-hmm. Like she may need to give herself a different experience. God forbid, I don't mean anything the wrong way, but I mean something that's the right way. Maybe it's a sheer that she goes through that energizes her, that gives her this constant gas in the tank to allow her to keep going. But I would hope at some point, if she's doing it the right way, and maybe she's not doing it right, but if she's doing it the right way, at some point, he'll break and he'll reciprocate too.
And for those of you who are at a really high level, who can, you know, there's some people who give, like they host a lot of people and they never get thanked. You know, I know a lot of people who host actually, you know, college students or whatever, and they're like, oh, thanks. And they walk out and they don't realize you've been cooking for 4 days, you know, whatever. So you're kind of doing it with no appreciation. So if you're that kind of a person who, you know, does a lot of chesed, a lot of acts of kindness for people without getting thanked, you can kind of think of this in the similar sense, which is it's the right thing to do. God's going to shower you with blessing. You are going to feel good about yourself for what you did. Yeah, it's frustrating a little. And what he said about getting support from others is fantastic. It's blowing up here. We got to. Okay,
I don't think, I just want to say that most people are not that person. No, that person who invites college kids and gets no thank you. Yeah. I know very few people who could do it without a thank. Everyone needs energy. You're allowed to be human. You're allowed to get frustrated. You're allowed to lose it sometimes. You're allowed. You really are allowed. Your marriage isn't, God forbid, in terrible shape. If you got angry one night and you lost it one night or you couldn't take it, get a good night's sleep, eat well, take a shower, and the next day, hopefully you'll be up for it.
And maybe apologize if you can. Okay, come on. We're going to the series.
Okay, wow, we're getting so much feedback and tons of hearts. Okay, so somebody on Facebook is asking, my mom is the biggest martyr and drives me crazy. My parents are still bickering and arguing. Any advice I can give them? Basically, the situation is she's not seeing in her own parents a good marriage, and they're still married, but it's been, obviously, this is something that's been going on since she was a child. They keep fighting, and she doesn't know how to.
Oh, the first thing she has to realize that she doesn't have to be her parents' mommy. She's not responsible for her parents' marriage. You know, the saddest thing that happens with a divorce is when you look at the kids and they're affected 2-3 years later sometimes. And I've talked to kids who like that in that position. I said, what's wrong? And somehow they take the blame on themselves. Like they could have saved it. Like it was because of them. And maybe in one dispute, the father said to them, you know, it's all because of your school or all because of how you're acting. And they literally took it very much to heart and believe it. So the first thing I'll tell the kid is it's not on you. These are your parents. God gave you the parents. You didn't produce these parents. It's not on you to fix them. That's number one. And number two is that some marriages work with bickering. Like some people like that a little bit. They do that. You know, and this is the account thing I was talking about before. Like sometimes you look at people and you're like, why do they have a good marriage and they fight all the time? And this person gets into one fight and their marriage feels like it's on the rocks and it's in trouble. The answer is a bank account. What that means is this.
I'm so happy you got to that.
Can I ask you a question, Mrs.
Yeah.
Mrs. Richeimer? Can you go, and I don't mean you personally, but do you think if a person asks you, can they take a withdrawal from the bank of $10,000? Yes or no?
Yeah, why not?
I'll tell you what it depends on.
Oh, if they have $10,000.
How much is in the bank?
Oh, hello.
There you go. There you go. Okay. So if there's $1 million in the bank, $10,000, you're not even going to notice. If there's $100,000, you're going to notice it, but you can handle it. If there's $12,000, wow, that's going to take a big hit. And if there's $5,000 in the bank and you took a $10,000 withdrawal, you can think of shut down. Your account is in big trouble. The same is true to marriage. Some marriages can handle a little bit of bickering because their accounts, their mental, emotional accounts are full. If I'm filling my wife's account or my wife is filling my account in so many other ways, then it could be a little dispute, doesn't hurt us that much. But if the account is on E, then you have this little disagreement and all of a sudden you're in big trouble because you're making a $10,000 withdrawal on an account that only has $2,000 in there.
Wow.
So everyone has to realize that your marriage is a bank account. Now, I don't mean financial bank account. I mean, how many deposits have you made into that account before you decide? And you'll have two friends and they want to watch a Super Bowl. And one guy's wife has no problem. And the other person's wife is furious that she's left the house to watch the Super Bowl and is going 2 hours early. Well, here's the answer. One person knows how to make deposits, so his wife could handle this withdrawal. The other one was terrible over the weekend, never is there for his wife. And now his wife, he always says, I have no time. And now all of a sudden he has time for his friends to watch a Super Bowl. So now she's like, 1 second, all you've been doing is making withdrawals and now you want to make another one? Our account can't handle it. Wow. But if you made deposits and you're a great husband and you're there for her, you're with her, and you talk to her, you understand her, and you're doing all those things. Now you say, listen, hon, I want to not be home tonight. She can handle it.
Wow. How does it opposite up for the woman, for the wife? How does it work?
Is that if you're making deposits in your husband's account, so to speak, and you're making sure that
like what?
He feels cared for and he's understood, and maybe you let's say there's a week where he really doesn't want you to spend money. And you just really try not to. And you tell him, hon, I really didn't spend this week. And here's what I did instead. Don't just not spend. Explain to him so that he understands that you really tried. Now he's like, wow, my wife is on my team. Now she wants to go to her mother's house for something. And I'm not going to be home one night while I'm home. I get it. She's going with her sisters because she's an unbelievable wife. She's with me. She's made so many deposits. Wow. You can't make withdrawals if there's no money in the account.
Wow. By the way, Instagram, we have Beauty by OB who says, I like that metaphor. And Tamar Hess who says, love that analogy. And we actually have someone on Facebook that wrote, what if the wife charges interest on her bank account? The poor man. But it happens to be, Rabbi Haber, it's so true because when I got married, we were a group of about 10 people that were all in the same age group and bracket, and we all lived near each other. And then about like 5 years ago, my husband and I were going through like the different people in our area. And we realized out of the 10, there's 9 that are divorced. And we're the only ones that are still married. No,
you got married.
Like, I think about that all the time, that it was just me, like literally Leah's show, getting involved with working and deciding I have to make this work because it's so easy to just let it fall apart.
Oh my
so
gosh.
Quickly. Yeah, crazy.
The real number, you had 10 friends that all got married around the same time and 9 of them got divorced?
Yeah, the last one just got divorced this year. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I said to my husband, we're doing this. We are going strong. We are the last of the Mohicans, but
and by the way, that's the point that someone said, you said about interest, is it does pay interest, because what happens is as once you like allow the deposits to double on each other, they grow exponentially. So if you're making a deposit today and tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day, all of a sudden it's more than just the deposit you put in, because now there's an energy, there's a freedom, there's an excitement. Again, there are times when divorce is the right thing, don't get me wrong, but that's just a shame. That stat is just a shame, because I don't know anybody whose marriage is easy. I don't know anybody. But when you put in the work, it's so rewarding and so worth it.
Explain to me, Rabbi, give us 10 things that are a bank account that a woman can do to put in the bank account. This I just want real practical, step by step, get them down, Leora, and have them,
here we go. This is top of my head. Okay. 10 things. Okay. Number 1, be prepared for your husband when he comes home. Whatever that is that he means. If it means dinner ready, if it means dress nicely, prepared for your husband when he comes home. Okay. Number 2 is be in tune to something that he asked. That means if he asks you to do something that day, either do it or tell him in advance. Don't wait till he comes home and say, oops, I forgot. Tell him in advance, I couldn't do it, but I'm going to do it tomorrow. So be in tune to a request of his. Okay.
And I have some people who are very stressed out because their husband barks out orders, whatever. He runs a big company. I've had this a lot of questions. So I told him, tell the husband to send a text or put it on a thing, and you'll get to it in the next 48 hours or something like that.
Exactly.
So you can make it work for you so that you don't have to jump every time he says so. Okay.
Right. So keep track. I'm not going to remember. Number 3 is communicate in advance. That means he doesn't want surprises. So if something's going to happen tomorrow, tell him in advance. You know, honey, by the way, I'm going to spend this money. Or honey, I'm not going to be home when you get home. Communicate in advance. Number 4 is show love even when he doesn't deserve it, so to speak. In other words, he wants a text message even though he didn't do it or whatever. Okay. Number 5 is say I'm sorry. Say I'm sorry when you weren't wrong. Now, if he's abusing, God forbid, then don't do it. You know, that's a whole nother conversation. But if he just kind of needs his I'm sorry, then give him his I'm sorry. It's not a big deal. Number 6, appreciate his family. And that means when a husband hears that you called his mother to tell her something nice, and even about her, about something nice about his mother, he appreciates it. When you tell him a compliment about something his mother, he appreciates it. So do something nice for his family. Number 7 is sometimes give him surprises. That means if, you know, we all did it in the first year we got married, and then we all lose sight of it. That means a little note on his bed. I know this sounds unreal, but a little note on his bed, a little special dessert that you know he likes, something like that. That's a surprise that energizes him, is exciting. Number 8 is when he speaks, listen. Listen. Don't just wait to talk. Listen. That means you stop and you ask him questions, that you show that you're really listening. Okay, I'm almost there. I gave you 8 items.
This is
okay?
I'm 1 foot, like no less.
Okay. Number 9 is it depends if he likes this, but if he cares about neatness, then try to make something neat in some sort of way. Okay. So that would be, you know, as if his room, he likes his room neat, you set it up and anything like that. That would be number 9. Number 10. Number 10. What would I say is number 10? Give me an area that you want me to do it. I have a thought in my head, but I don't know if it's the ultimate one that it should be the number 10. Give me an area that it should be in, but I have a little thought. I'll tell you.
Yeah, I think Rabbi Haber should go with his thought. That would be like,
okay. My thought would be, save him money and tell him you did, which is not the same thing. I said, when that means you tell honey, especially if he cares about those things. Honey, this is what happened. I went to the store. You told me I could spend $500 on dress or on 2 dresses or 3 dresses. I really decided to buy only 2 because I didn't want to hurt you. The only problem is what a lot of times happens in marriage, at least it happens in my house, is that, honey, why'd you spend so much? Why spend so much? My wife, I'll see on the phone. You know, you ever get those things on the phone that tells you when you went to the bank, when money was spent?
Yeah.
So every time I get over 125, Chase tells me what happened. So I know where my wife was. So I'll see 400 here, 300 there, 700 there, 500 there. And then 2 days later, I'll come home and like, I open the fridge and I'll take out the orange juice and it's like the cheap brand. I'm like, honey, why'd you get this brand? I wanted to save you money. Hun, you saved me 30 cents, but you spent $4,000. So, but when you can save a significant amount of money, I think that's a positive.
So by the way, Dina on Torah Anytime.
One second. I want a little credit. I gave you 10 items on the fly. No one prepared me with coming up with 10.
Wait. That's what I want to tell Rabbi Haber. Dina said these fab 10 tips. Leah should have asked for 20.
I don't think I'm done. I'm done with the 10. I don't think
Instagram, we have Mommy's Cookie Jar who said, this is great. Thank you. And it happens to be, and Sandy on Torah Anytime's live stream says, does this work both ways? Can we advise our husbands about numbers 1 through 10 And it actually goes with Mrs. Bright and Sparkly on Instagram, who says, what about men listening to us? Meaning, does this flip to the other side? Because it's now you gave
100% it does. I kept saying examples, and Ms. Richeimer keeps telling me, how about for the woman? 1,000,000%. This is a two-way street. It always was. If you look at what the Rambam says about how a man should respect a woman, it always was a two-way street. I'm just primarily talking to women right now. But if you wanted me to come up with a top 10 list of what the women need, I don't know if I could do it offhand. Do you really want me to do it? I don't know if I could do it.
No, because the men aren't listening. Only the women.
But my point is 100% men need to do that.
Okay, good.
100%.
I have other questions. We were running out of time, and I have a lot of women who say, Leah, I've tried everything. I keep failing. I've tried I listen to this and then I do that for a while. That fails. We tried therapy. That failed. Everything we're doing failing. Why should what you're telling me now work any different? So just this kind of burnout of trying. And if Rabbi could address that a little bit.
Okay. So first of all, you have to be open. If you really tried anything, you have to be open to really do what it takes. I mean, outside of, God forbid, abuse or real taking advantage of, do what it takes. So what I need you to do is I need you to really honestly sit down in your room by yourself, and I can guarantee you no one's going to do it. But sit down in your room by yourself, take a pen and paper, and take notes. You're married to your husband 10 years, 15 years. What does he need from you? Say the truth. Do you understand the concept of being understood like we just discussed? Maybe you never tried that. Do you understand the concept of the bank account? Maybe you never tried that. Did you try therapy for real? Be up for the therapy if that's what it takes. Do it. Don't be afraid of it. It's not embarrassing. You know what's the most embarrassing thing in my world? Is someone who has a life that's broken, that's not willing to fix it. Be willing to fix it. Don't be embarrassed. I don't care if you need a medicine. I don't care if you need a therapy. I don't care what you need. If you have a way to fix it, fix it. Now, if you tried everything there is in the book. Now, a lot of times people say they tried, they didn't really try. A lot of times people say they tried, they didn't really try because they only tried on their terms. I mean, try. If you really tried, there are, like I said, you put in the full effort. There are times when you may have to be willing to say, to some degree, it is what it is.
What do you mean try on their terms? I didn't understand.
What that means is I want my husband to be home at 6 o'clock and he's never home at 6 o'clock. So I'm still upset. Well, maybe get over the 6 o'clock time. Governor's saying is you have your terms of what you want it to be and what you think a good husband is. That's not fair. And it may not work. You may have to make serious adjustments. Write it down. What do you think he needs? Now, if it's going to be stepping all over you or abusing you or, God forbid, doing something, I don't mean that. But if you know what he needs, even though it's out of your comfort zone, get to it. So if your husband needs you to look good every night, and you might say, why do I have to look good every night? Why is it a man's world? That doesn't make sense. It's not up to him. If that's what he needs, then try to do it. Now, you can say, oh, but it's his fault, and he's more wrong than me. I agree. But you tried 20 years to change him, and he's not changing. The only power you have is over yourself. So if you could give up, you want to give up, give up. I'll understand. All your friends will understand. So you could give up. But if you don't want to give up and you want it to work, then adjust your standards of what you're willing to do and understand what he needs and do it.
Wow.
Can I just say this one thing? I just want to say this one thing. Why do you think so? To me, it's the most unbelievable thing that people get married willingly. Like no one puts a gun to people's head to get married. So everyone chose this spouse, and yet there's no union that has more frustration in it than a marriage. So why? You chose.
Yeah.
So like what happened? And I'll tell you what I think. I think is that every single little girl that one day dreams of a marriage, dreams of walking on a beach together in Turks and Caicos, fully dressed. We're going to walk together and the sun is setting and the water is bouncing off our feet and we're talking wonderful thoughts and life is perfect. He's handsome. I'm gorgeous. Everyone's wonderful. Life is just perfect. And you can have that dream. Every girl has that dream in some way. Maybe it's sitting on a couch together, but every girl has that dream. You can have the dream, but you need to be willing to do what it takes to get it. So if I walk by a house that's a $10 million house, I could dream of living in a house like that one day. It's okay. but are you willing to pay the price? You don't just snap your fingers and have it tell me in the house. So everybody that marches down the aisle marches down with a dream. But most people don't march down with the preparedness to do what it takes to achieve that dream.
So how do we do that? How can we shift ourselves to be able to have the motivation and the energy and the know-how to make that happen?
So a lot of it is what we're talking about, showing understanding, doing those 10 things, filling the bank account, accepting the fact that we're different, get off of social media and ignore all those distractions. But maybe more than anything else, can I share a little story? Because that looks like we're almost done. I just want to share a story that I think is the most powerful message. And it's really a classic and it's a famous one, but I think it's the most powerful thing that you can have in your mind every single day to kind of make that dream. There was once a man, he lived on an island. He was 23 years old, the most handsome boy on the island. He was good looking. He was athletic. He was strong. He was well off. He was intelligent. He was the guy. Every girl on the island wanted to date this man. No. And the rule was that if once you got engaged, you had to give a dowry to the father, like you'd give to the girl's father. Maybe you'd give, 2 chickens, or maybe you give 2 sheep. Maybe you give 2 sheep and 1 chicken. That's what you do. Anyhow, this man went to the neighboring island and found a girl that he's going to get engaged to. He comes back. Everyone sees the girl. Who is she? She's hunched over, not very good looking. Her father's a very poor farmer. He's like, why'd you pick her? But okay, he must have seen something in her. And then they saw the dowry. What was the dowry? He gave 20 cows, 30 sheep, and 50 chicken. Everyone's like, what? He could have gotten up for a chicken and a half. He moves away from the island. The 2 of them move away from the island. 5 years later, he moves back. And when he moves back, he comes to the tent. Everyone's excited to see him. And as he's greeting all the guests, a woman comes in to serve them. And she's standing tall. She looks beautiful, smart, funny, and wonderful. And they're like, who's that? He's like, that's my wife. That's your wife? That's that farmer's daughter? Yeah, that's the farmer's daughter. He said, obviously you saw something in her that we didn't. But can you finally tell us, you could have gotten her for 2 chicken. Why'd you pay all that you paid? Cows and sheep, 20 sheep, 20 cows, 30 sheep, 50 chicken. He says, I'll tell you why. Because if I paid 2 chicken for my wife, for the rest of her life, she will know that she's a 2 chicken wife. Now, every day she knows that I paid 20 cows and 30 sheep and 50 chickens for her. She knows how much I value her every single day. You know what a marriage takes? Every day, more than all 10, and all those 10 is to get to this thing. Every day, make sure your spouse feels really, genuinely valued. There's nothing you replace it. That they know that they are a 20 cow wife, that he's a 20 cow husband. You know what it takes to show him that value. You're married long enough to know. You know what it takes. If you can show him that value again and again and again, almost always you'll find it coming back.
Wow, Leah, by the way, we're getting from Torah Anytime's live stream. Dina says, Sari, can we get him on again, please? This was really an outstanding show. I like his answers. They're straightforward, honest, and full of depth. He also answers each one really quickly, so we covered a lot of information.
I hope.
Thank you very much for that response.
How can people hear more of Rabbi?
So really, we have a weekly class that's on iTorah and Torah Anytime. It's the same class. And, every week we try to cover very different topics. So it's not just the same thing every week. It's really different life topics, as you see here. And I appreciate, if I would tell you the biggest compliment that I get from people is, Rabbi, I feel like you're in my living room. I feel like you're living in my life. Mm-hmm. So the thing that I kind of take most pride in is that I live a very normal life. I'm a very normal person. I'm not someone despite the books, I'm not someone who's living some perfect life. So I think we understand what people are living through. And so all those challenges you're dealing with, we deal with on a weekly basis.
Incredible. It was gold. You gave us so many gold nuggets. I hope Leora got everything.
Yeah, beyond.
Beyond.
I'm getting off the show, and the one thing I learned is I'm going to my husband and telling him he didn't give enough chickens or.
I need to say it again and again. It's work. And if you put in the work, you will live that dream. You will be able to walk together on the beach of Turks and Caicos somewhere. You really will. You can live that dream. Just you need to pay the price, and it's worth it. Even though there are days that it's so hard, but right at the end of the rainbow, there's the gold. It's there. Do it, and I can almost guarantee you'll get so much in return.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Rabbi, so grateful to have you on, and you're sharing your wisdom.
Honor to do. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Really, thank you.
Thank you so much. This is Leah Richeimer for the Ladies Talk Show. We'll see you next time. And send this out to your friends. It is so, so precious. Every word he said. Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.